I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm on it.
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere!
We'll do it live! Fuck it!
Welcome back, kids and coaches. Go ahead and wake Green Day up. It's Levi. This is West of Nowhere.
And I'm Shane.
And Shane is also back. And he's different now. He's changed. He's he's too cool for all the goddamn peasant workers now. So, no. But we are back, so that's good. Why don't you tell us where you've been, buddy?
Oh, man. I don't think any of the listeners will really understand, but I was recently promoted to Chief Petty Officer in the Navy. And a part of being promoted means you have to go through a special, what they call a Chief Season. And so that finally finished, and I was pinned, and anybody who's friends with me on Facebook saw that my son got to pin me, which
That was fucking cool. Yeah.
Dude, that was amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that I didn't cry whenever he was pinning me, I was...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who would have cried watching it either, so it's fine. Not me, I know that.
They were supposed to live stream it, and I was upset they didn't, but they did record it, and it will be up eventually, and when it is up again, I will share it.
Hell yeah.
I actually was able to send a part of the video of me just walking down the carpet being rang in, saluting, to my grandmother, and she watched it, and she called me, and she was like, I cried watching that, and I was like, well, that's impressive, because I sent you an 8-second video.
Yeah. So. Hey, doesn't take long, you know. Emotions can get stirred up real quick.
Dude, I still can't believe that I got selected.
Well, it's such a, for everybody that doesn't know, it's a very, just getting promoted regularly is a strenuous process in the Navy in general. You have to have your shit together just to go from, these lower rankings up, and then, to get to that E6 to E7 threshold is such a big leap. And you went in boot camp in the summer too, right?
April of 2012. So
okay, no. So there was no. We had selectees and walking around RTC when I was there.
God, dude, that had to suck.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine that on top of your regular workload, which is just fucking the work. It's the best for them because they're we gotta get these people fucking ready, blah blah blah. But on top of that, all the extra shit that you gotta do for that, I can't imagine. And it's everybody who's top, not ducks in a row, legit, and it's got to be wild. But that's where I've seen the most selectees at one place. Outside of that, you see maybe one or two, in your hangar at a time. You know what I mean? It's not a huge number of people. So it's pretty cool.
At 131 where I'm at, there was 2 other people who were selected in 131. So there's just 3 of us at my command, but we did the season with the entire base. And there was 103 of us.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude. And granted, I have. Oh man, this is hard to talk. I was and because you were with me for a long time, and I've talked to you about a lot of stuff. I was the big, especially as a second class before I made first. I was definitely fuck those guys.
Yeah.
At any chance I could, I was very vocal about it. But going through season definitely changed the way I thought about them as people, and then the job itself.
Yeah.
And
a little perspective switching.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. Because hell, even when I was right at the end, right before we went through the final tests we had to go through, I was hearing about stuff that was going on in the command that I would have never heard
Yeah.
period as a first. And it's just wild to hear like all the stuff that goes on from day to day, and you don't get to see that. You don't get to see the 7 other fires they're putting out before you go talk to a chief, and they're like, and you feel like they're blowing you off, but they're really dealing with so much other shit.
Yeah.
So it changed my perspective.
Well, and then like one of the things that is important, I think, to note is like, you're going from, working your way up. As you work your way up, you get more like responsibilities, but then there's also issues that you're like, oh, this needs addressed, and then the chiefs are always the ones shooting down shit that seems like really good ideas. They're always the ones like making these calls that are ultimately not super popular in the grand scheme of things. So people have a like ingrained animosity for the most part, like where they're just like, fuck, chiefs don't care, dude. They just, they get the anchors and then they don't do fucking shit, like that's how most of the people think, at that, like, especially getting from, E3 to E4, in my experience, like where you do get like, here's some morsel of responsibilities, and you're like, all right, maybe we can fucking do this, and then they're like, you're a fucking idiot, like you don't know what you're talking about. Like, these guys don't want to see us succeed, like, and you build it up in your head, and you're like, oh, and now you have the, the other side of the coin. The other side of the 52 challenge coins that you own. So, yeah.
And like we talked about before we started recording, and I'll say it now. So in case no one's going to know this, only Levi's going to know this, and he didn't know I was going to talk about it, but I'll say it now. About a year ago now, I was falsely accused, and I have been dealing with that for literally, like, as of right now, recording this, we're 20 days shy of when I first got told that I was being accused. So,
oh shit, yeah.
Fucking 11 straight months of just never knowing how my life was going to turn out, what was going to go on with me. And then the investigation finally finished right as soon as the results came out for Chief.
Yeah.
And I found out that I wasn't going to be able to do season because I was still under investigation. But the entire time that I was being investigated, the Chief's mess at 131 was always there for me. And as someone who has been very vocal about how Chiefs suck, I will tell you that the Chiefs mess at 131 completely changed how I view Chiefs as people, period.
Yeah.
Because they were there checking on me every fucking day, making sure I was okay, and giving me every opportunity to still excel at my job. Yeah. And then finally when the investigation came out and Skipper had a chance to look at all the evidence, I was found not guilty.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do a quarter of the season. Not as much as everybody else got to do. So they care. And I know that no one listening to this show is fucking probably in the Navy, but
Matt listens and he'll know. He'll know about it. He's not still in, but he'll appreciate it probably, I guess. But
yeah. Yeah, so it's been a wild ride for me. It's changed everything that I thought from start to finish.
And one of the things that I was thinking about today is, because like on days we record, I like, sometimes there's things that I want to talk about, or, things that I've just been thinking of bringing up. And, today when we're like, okay, it's been a while since we recorded, and obviously I knew we were going to talk about the Chief thing. But also, people who have listened to this show for a long time know about some of the things that, like, maybe not everything about, like, your life before the Navy and how you've expressed it on the show, how drastically the Navy has changed your life for the better.
Yeah.
And so thinking about where you are now, and then, comparing it to where you were before you were even in the Navy. Like, just think about like how far you've gotten. You know what I mean? It's insane thing to think about, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
Like, but
I don't think we ever talked about it on the show before, but I was a fucking drug addict before the Navy.
yeah,
Like, I was going nowhere. I was doing nothing with my life. I was letting the intrusive thoughts that I still deal with all the time that
yeah,
I was letting them win. I was like, cool, you know, my parents don't want me. My, you know, none of my family wants me, or that's the way I perceived it. I don't know. It's the best thing I ever did. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. There are times when you're in the Navy that fucking suck.
yeah.
Just
Eating shit sandwiches all day long. Yeah. and some people don't like that shit, and then they just get out after 4 years. You know?
yeah.
For whatever reason. But yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right though. It like, as much as it sucked, the Navy has given me so much.
Yeah.
I'm not saying join the Navy for listening to this, because it is definitely not for everyone.
He's recruiting now, so his quota. No. That'd be fucking hilarious. No, but like, you know, it is something that, especially watching that video, or yeah, the video of you saluting, and then the pictures of you and Emmett, and I was like, man, that's crazy. Like, because I wasn't there for that before, you know, your before Navy time, but like, I've heard enough of the stories to go, Jesus Christ. Like, if I would have known, if I would have seen that guy at some point, there would be no way I would be, like, thinking in my head, like, that guy's gonna be a fucking E7 in the Navy one day, and that's fucking, like, no,
Yeah.
I'd have been like, he's gonna probably die in the McDonald's parking lot, you know? Like, just how my judgmental brain works. But, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's impressive to say the least, you know.
It's surreal. Like, during the pinning ceremony, they said that less than 10% of the people who join the Navy ever make chief.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy to me.
I was wondering what the percentage was, because I was trying to throw out, or I was gonna guesstimate a percentage of, like,
Yeah.
you know, earlier when I was talking about how infrequent it seems, or like how few people out of the group who, you know, is up. Yeah. So
Yeah.
less than 10% of anybody, like, of.
And they say that only 1% of the population joins the military. I mean, I'm
Right.
sure you heard that a bunch
Yeah.
when you first joined.
Yeah, in
So-
boot camp specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only 1% of the population joins the military. So
Yeah.
of that 1% that joins and is able to go through boot camp, and then let's say that
Whatever that percentage is, that's strictly Navy.
yeah, right. And of
Yeah.
that small percentage, only less than 10% ever make chief, which is, gonna be real honest, I never thought that was gonna be me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, in boot camp, I remember having, like, you know, everything's fresh and everything seems really cool. And then, like, you see the Chiefs walking around, and you're like, these fucking guys got it figured out, dude. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of cool. Like, I was telling you before the show, but whatever the service uniform hats are, the flat ones,
Yeah.
I was like, those things are fucking top notch. I saw our division, or our boot camp,
RDC.
yeah, his, like, the main chief, he fucking, I don't know, he had the right head for it or what, but his shit came down, like, so cleanly where his eyes were. He just looked intimidating as hell, and I was like, God damn it, I want to be that guy, you know? But then, you know, you get 3 steps into the Navy, and you're like, oh, fuck, no, I can't. There's no way. Like, I gotta do all this shit, you know?
Yeah.
It seems insurmountable sometimes, but...
And I've thought a lot about it since I only was able to go through some of it, but, like, there are guys that I thought would make it long before I did.
Yeah.
Actually, I made that post about how, you know, I was going through hard stuff and Emmett pinned me and whatever. And a guy reached out to me that knew me as a third class when I was in security, TAD, and he was a first class then. He's still a first class now.
Jesus.
He reached out to me and he was talking to me, telling me congratulations, and he was just like, he goes, "You're welcome." And I was like, "For what?" And he was like, "Do you not remember what happened?" And then he explained to me what happened, and I remember the second he was explaining it to me, it like flooded my mind. I was in security. I was disgruntled about the Navy. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to do 2 more years. I'm going to get the fuck out. I'm done with this. And he convinced me to stay in.
Yeah.
He's like, do 1 more enlistment, and if you fucking hate it, then go.
Yeah.
And that's insane. Because I completely forgot that guy had convinced me to just, do a little bit more. And if you still hate it, then go.
Right.
And now I have 11 years in. I didn't make Chief the fastest, but I've made it faster than the average, which for ATs is 12 to 14 years to Chief.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say not most of them, because some of the commands I was at was fucking Fallon. Like, I don't know. There's some people who grease them a lot of elbows by being shit hot early in their career. Like, one dude made Chief in 8, I think, that I worked.
Damn.
I mean, he stayed Chief for a while after that. He didn't get senior that quick, but it's just wild. So there's people like that, but then there's also people who, they're on that, 16, 17 year mark, and they're like, all right, maybe this time, man. And for most of the people that are listening don't know, but like when you hit E6, so you're not up for Chief right away, right? You have to wait a certain amount of time.
3 years.
3 years after you make E6.
Yeah, 3 years after you make E6, you're eligible for Chief. Doesn't mean you'll make it, but yeah.
Yeah. So then, so now you're just in the fucking Mad Hatter of picking names out of a thing, like, you know what I mean? With a bunch of other people who are also in that position. So it's just a very unlikely process, you know what I mean? Like, it's on the outside, it just seems so crazy. Like, takes forever. At least in, E4 to E6, they tell you, they're like, all right, man, here's your fucking shit you need to work on. Is it the same with that or no?
I mean, it is. There's the ladder, you know what I mean? Like, they that shit they have on My Navy Assignment, you can see, like, what they think you should have by a certain year mark or rank. Yeah. But for me, it was crazy because, like, when I first joined, I was at 106, and I was an airman watching third classes get higher tenured out. Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, so in the Navy, you have a certain amount of time to make the next rank. So you have 8 years to not be an E1 to E3 anymore. You have to be a third class at least, and then you have. No, it's 5. My bad. It's 5 years from E1 to E3. You have to be E4, and then then it's 8 years from to not be an E4 anymore, and then it's 16 for E5 with a waiver, and then it's 22. Then it's 22 as a first class, and then 24 years as a chief, and then 26, 28, and it gets crazy up there at the top. Yeah, depending on what you're doing. But I can remember, like, watching people that I thought knew what the fuck was going on. When I was an airman, they were third class. I was like, this guy knows what the fuck's going on. And he got, higher tenured out. And then when I made third, I watched second classes get higher tenured out. And when I made first, I was watching first classes, like, never make guys that I was like, this dude knows what he's talking about. He knows programs. He knows Navy regulations.
Got all the quals. Yeah.
And then just couldn't make chief. And I was like, if these guys can't make chief, there's no way I'm making it.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's still surreal for me. Like, Monday will be the first day that I put on the uniform as a chief and going to work, and it just doesn't seem real.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't know. I think it's sweet. I mean, it's definitely one of those positions, like, where I'm like, having been out for so long now, that I'm like, man, what would have happened if I would have just fucking stayed? You know what I mean? I have, like, those And I've told you about that dude that I worked with that, like, is an officer now.
Yeah.
Who came into the command that I was in after me. And he's just an officer now, and I'm like, oh. And then we talked about that other guy that I worked for at Fallon. Like, he was one of the second classes when I was an airman, and now he's a chief. He made chief the same cycle you did, which is also wild to me because he was a second class the same time you would have been, an airman,
Yeah.
so that's kind of wild. Like, kind of puts it in their perspective how some people it can take a little bit longer or whatever, but this is definitely, I guess, cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched a good buddy of mine. I knew him as a third class. I made second at 137 whenever me and you were still there. And then do you remember Shemansky? I don't know if you ever met him or not. I think
That sounds familiar.
so. He didn't make chief until like the last possible. He had like his last chance possible. He made chief.
Yeah.
So that shit scared me because I was like, because he had been a first class. By the time he made chief, he had been a first class for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, if I'm still a first class 10 years, if I've been a first class for 10 years, just take me out back and shoot me, because
Yeah. Well, because, like, not only are you not advancing, but you're also, you're kind of getting, like, you're not stuck in a shitty position, because you're still, like, a work center soup, usually, like, LPO, whatever, but you are getting shit on, like, by the command at some point as a first class. And if you're first class for 10 years, like, I can't imagine you're not eating shit that often. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. No, I mean, there's a guy that I work with now who he was an AT1 with our maintenance master chief. Our maintenance master
when
chief,
they were
both AT1s together.
Holy shit.
And he's a maintenance master chief now. And this guy is about to get out. He went all the way to 22, still didn't get picked up. And he's smart as fuck. Like,
yeah,
you can tell that he is like ready to get out because like he's just been in forever.
yeah,
But when you talk to him about the jet or about AT systems, he knows his shit. And I was like, this guy's smarter than me.
yeah,
How the fuck did I make it over him? Like,
right.
so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's that shit that I'm in therapy for, because I'm just like, you don't deserve this.
yeah. The imposter syndrome in your brain telling you. Yeah. Is there like a final multiple of like when you get selected where they're like, this is why you finally made it? Like, do they tell you?
So no,
No.
they don't tell you
you
shit.
what pushes you into.
Nope.
Weird.
You take the test, and if you pass the test like you normally would to advance, you make board,
Right.
and then they just pick you.
So they're
They
like, all right, this guy, and board is, it's an oral board, right? You're getting like asked questions and stuff, or what?
No.
What?
No, so they take your record,
Yeah.
and your record is in Millington, and a bunch of master chiefs sit around and look at your records and go, these guys deserve to be chiefs.
Wow.
But you have to. But like I said, it's like whenever you made third, it's the same thing. You score above the cutting score,
Right.
and once you score above that, you're called you're what's considered board eligible.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of master chiefs get together and take your record and don't know you from Adam, don't ask you any questions, nothing,
Yeah.
and just decide.
And then I'm assuming they have a quota that they use too.
Yeah,
but-
there's like a certain amount of people that they're allowed to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was number 122 out of 145.
Jesus. But yeah, that's kind of wild that they tell you that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They tell you, well, the number they give you is based off seniority.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So like, I was just out of the 145 people they picked to make
You're
ATC, I was
22 in senior line,
in seniority order. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Like if you got a higher number, that means there's a lot of more like people who've been in longer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So maybe being 150 would be kind of cool. I don't know. When you said that, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's kind of brutal that they would tell you that. But then in my head, I was like, I don't know, because it's one of those weird military things probably where they just like to, like, we got a reason, and we want you to know how close you were to not being fucking picked. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, so that was the thing that infuriated me, because this is my second time up for it that I made it.
Right.
And I made board the first time. I scored high enough on the test to be board eligible, but they don't tell you anything. They just you're board eligible, and then they just pick people, and they don't tell you anything. They don't say, "Oh, you're missing this." Nothing. You're just you got picked or you didn't.
Yeah.
And that made me mad the first time I was up for it, because I was like, well, how can I be better if I don't know what I'm missing?
Yeah.
So
that's true. That does make it a little like infuriating. Like at least when I, making third, like I knew 100%. Like I should have made third the first time I was up because of my score. Like I scored pretty high. Like I can't remember, like in the 90 percentile, I think. But I had a shitty eval in Fallon because the story is actually hilarious. But I got all of my qualifications postponed or like suspended. And they knocked my eval down because they were like, oh, he doesn't have his quals that he should have had. I was like, well, I do, but you fucking paused him because this one we had augments in Fallon to support the thing. Have I told you this story?
Yeah.
When this guy just fucking was like on my shit all the time, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking fuck Harrison today, I guess. I don't know. I can't assume that's what he wanted to do, but it seemed very likely, and they did put me on a different shift from him after that because I'm pretty sure they were worried I was gonna skin him. So, but essentially they were like, "Oh, you didn't follow by the book procedures for an inspection on this airplane."
I remember, yeah. Fuckers.
Fucking Commandant was flying in it, but it's fine. But like, they didn't give me the time to do the shit. Like they kept breathing down my neck, and they were like, "Oh, he left his tools outside," while I was trying to go get go get the books I needed to do the daily. They're like, "Oh, you left your tools unattended, so that's a hit, QA hit," and that fucked me up. And so they knocked my eval down because I didn't have my qualifications, and that eval held such a hard like percentage on my final multiple for third class that I knew that first test that I took with 137, test I took on the boat.
Yeah. I
was like, I'm not gonna have that eval for this test, so I'm calling it right now. Like I'm gonna make it because that thing's gone. And I didn't have a new eval, so there was nothing but my last good eval in Fallon on there. And what do you know? We fly back to Oak Harbor. And on the plane, they were like, "Hey, look, Harrison's goddamn E4 Mafia now." And I said, "Yeah, goddamn right."
Yeah.
Yeah. But at least, like, then, like, I knew that whole time. Like, that eval's gotta go. Otherwise, I'm not making it. Like, and then they're like, "Yeah, that thing will be off when you take this." And I was like, well, might as well just start calling me AM3 Select. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah, always.
About 4 months ago, they made it to where E4 is automatic now.
What? Fucking push button pieces of shit.
From the time
respect.
From the time you join, 30 months later, you will be an E4.
Whoa. What?
Yeah, 30 months from the time you join.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. It's like 30 months, but that's X amount of years, right? So you got a year to E1 to E2, year to E2 to E3. and then auto advanced E4.
Yeah. So the only problem is if you join as an E2,
Yeah.
it's still 30 months.
Oh shit. That's annoying.
Yeah.
And you can't like get bumped quicker if you.
I mean, I guess I guess they could like choose to like cap you or map you
yeah, oh,
faster, but yeah, no, yeah, like, it's weird because like everyone had questions when it first came out. They were like, well, what if you join? It's 30 months from the day you join, you'll be an E4. So if you join as an E4, if you join as an E2 or an E3, it's still 30 months.
That's crazy.
Well, because people were, I mean,
Yeah.
because like there's like this huge bottleneck that I've seen recently, where like most shops have 5 or 6 second classes
Yeah.
and no airmen.
Yeah. Oh,
so
so you need to have a specific airman base, and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're trying to slow down advancement a little bit because everyone just keeps getting stuck at second.
Yeah.
Because there's so many second classes.
Yeah. That was like when I got it. When I got to my first when I got to Fallon, that was always the thing where everybody's like, "You want to be a second class dog? That's where it's at. They don't do shit." Like, like you're right in that sweet spot where you can boss people around, but you don't get yelled at because the first class gets yelled at. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow, that does sound pretty cool. And like it's true, there were tons of second classes all over the place. Like Fallon was held together by second classes and way too many chiefs.
Yeah.
And no officers.
Yeah.
It was a shit show. But yeah.
Because I can remember being at 137 not long after you left. I was a second class on nights in the AT shop, and there were 14 second classes in the shop.
Jesus.
So like, I had all my quals, but I wasn't in charge of the shift. So, I was a fully qualified second class with my CDI.
Yeah, and you're doing all the shit work.
I wasn't have to do anything because like the guy running the shift was telling people to do stuff, and I would just be like, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
For about 2 months before the guy before one of the guys transferred, and they were like, you're taking over the shift, and I was like, fuck.
Oh yeah. Is that when you got yelled at for quoting Rick and Morty in your email?
I mean, that happened a couple months later, but yeah. Because
the same timeline.
Yeah, because I took over the shift, didn't realize like what it took to run a shift at the time, because no one takes it
seriously.
What I hate about the Navy is that no one actually tells you what your job is gonna be until you're in the job.
Yeah.
And
then they're mad you didn't figure it out.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Because the first maintenance meeting I ever took, I checked all the tools, everything was good. I go upstairs to maintenance meeting, I have the workload, and I'm ready. And I'm like, they're gonna tell me what they want me to do, and I got this, I can do that. And then they start asking questions about shit on the workload. They're like, what's going on with this? And I was like, I mean, I'll get back to you. I don't know. What do you like? What?
Good old airman salute. Huh?
Yeah, dude. I was like, what do you mean? Like, shouldn't you know? Like, you're telling me what to do.
Hey, these are your planes. I just work on them. Dude.
Exactly.
You tell me.
Well, that was the wrong move.
Yeah.
So,
weird.
And I can remember Jeff Wilson is his name. He's retired, and I talked to him during season. I can't wait to have a beer with him. But I told him that he was like a person that like made me shift how I operated, because up until that point I just came to work and did my job and like didn't really understand how to lead people. I was just a second class that had all my quals and just did what I was supposed to do. And I had said, I'll get back to you like 4 times in maintenance meeting. And he was like, all right, the maintenance meeting ended, and then in front of everyone, he was like, if you fucking come back up here and you don't know what the fuck's going on with your workload, you'll fucking regret it. Like, and he was like screaming. He said other stuff too, but like that was the gist, And it like shocked me. And from that day forward, I knew what was going on with every single thing on the workload. My tools were checked. I was on top of shit. But it took him fucking getting in my ass for me to fucking like come up to that level I needed to be at to be like a good second class.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can think about that at every step. Like I've been thinking about it a lot, like this past couple weeks, like
those moments in each particular,
Well, yeah, cause the guy who convinced me, MA1 Norval, convinced me to stay in the Navy, and then, I was in. And I made third, then I made second, then I was at 137, and me and you did cruise together, and then I was running that shift after I made second, and then Wilson Jeff got in my ass about like fucking being in control of your shit, and then it's just been it's been crazy.
Yeah. Been a wild ride, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so I know that like while you were second class, you're like very anti-Chiefs mess, but was there ever any part of you where you're like, I'm just gonna? Well, no, I know there was, right? Because you're like, I'm gonna make chief, and then I'm gonna be a cool chief that people. I'm not like other chiefs. I'm a cool chief. You know what I mean?
So I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I've thought a lot about that too, because I don't want to be that chief that doesn't seem like they give a fuck. Right?
Yeah.
What I have playing against me is, that like when I'm not paying attention to what's going on, I have this like just like default pissed off look on my face.
Yeah. RBF.
Yeah.
RBF is hard. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been told that a lot, like me and Natalie go play cornhole tournaments and stuff, and people talk to Natalie all day long.
They just ignore you because you look mad.
Yeah, and they told Natalie like, and that I just look pissed off and they don't want to like mess with me. And so I think I have to really, like I said, I've thought about it a lot. I need to focus on not seeming like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just being in the shops and fucking caring about people.
Yeah.
Letting them know that like I care about their dog's birthday and their
Yeah.
third kid they're having's favorite cartoon. Like it's gonna be work for me. It's gonna be hard because I want to say that as a first class, I was an instructor, and then now I've been at 131 in QA, and I've kind of just been on autopilot. Like
Right.
I come to work, I do my job, I don't have to worry about anyone. Just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be some growing pains. I'm gonna drop the ball a couple times, but I honestly think that I'm gonna be a good chief. I'm gonna help people. I really think that I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and I think, I think the conversations that we've had before where, it was at that, like, no, fuck him, I'm gonna be a good chief, like, I'm not gonna be like that, blah, blah, blah. But it was also coming from a point of, like, well, that was before you were kind of fully aware of the magnitude of, like, the stuff that they have on their plate at any point in time.
Yeah.
And it might not have been, or I think it was, like, a little more, like, in response to situations at that time, but now you're going to be a little more aware of, like, the entire story, because you have those other people who, like, I don't know, fuck Goat Locker seems like it's an NSA, like, operation. Like, they just know everything.
Yeah.
Somehow. Like, because they all talk to each other, and they're like, oh, well, I got this guy who's blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, yeah, I know a guy who knows it, blah, blah. And, like, information travels around and shit. And, I don't know. Secret voodoo. Whatever. Foosball table. I know there's at least one foosball table in there, but... So, yeah. I don't really remember where I was going with that.
Well, no, I mean, so you were talking about how, like, now that because we talked about it before when I didn't have the scope, how I was going to be a good chief, and now now I know that there's so much more shit going on.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. It really hit me. I want to say like 2 or 3 days before the final night we had to go through stuff.
Yeah.
I was at Fob Walk Down, and there's a guy there. He's an older gentleman who's an E3. He's from Nepal. This dude owns restaurants in South Carolina. Like, he didn't need to join.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with him. He just joined because he wanted to do something else, because he was tired of being a restaurant owner.
Dude, I've met
people
like that shit's wild.
And he is a great guy. He cares about stuff, but he stopped me. Because they make you wear that CPO selectee badge, right?
Oh yeah.
And he stopped me, and he was like, Chief Select. He was like, how do I get to where you are? And I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that question, like I knew how to answer him in that moment, but the question itself just, it blew me away because it made me think of every other time in my life where I had a realization that I could affect somebody by just being in their presence.
Yeah.
And it blew me away because this guy, to me, has his life fucking together,
Yeah.
period. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to be in the Navy. He's just doing it because he wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
But this guy's like, how do I get to where you are? And I was like, that's a fucking crazy question
Yeah.
that just blew me away.
Yeah. Because they, like, respect the place that you've ended up at, like, where you've, like, and they want to know, yeah, whatever. That is pretty trippy.
And it honestly, it sent me on like not a downward spiral, just like a spiral in general, because
Yeah.
it made me think of like how my father shaped my like vision of music by saying, you know, to respect any music you have to love all music. And then years
Right.
later when I brought it up to him, he was like, I don't remember ever saying that.
Oh, hell, Ricky, I was high when I said that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and because
Like a
my,
moment for him or for you wasn't even a fucking thought for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that moment when I realized that my father just saying some off comment affected my entire life, it changed the way I was as a father. So
Yeah.
now when I go to work, I have to pretend like they're my kids.
Yeah.
Which I don't want anyone listening to think that that's me on some kind of power trip, because it's not.
Yeah.
But if me saying one off comment shifts someone's career to go fucking nowhere, that's a big deal. So like I need
Yeah.
to Yeah.
Be a little more cognizant of some of the things, like how you A, carry yourself, and B, the conversations that you hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wild. Because I can sit here and I can think of, you know, conversations that I've had with just leadership in any job that I've had. But there's some people where you just go, like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a very introspective and like intelligent thing. And then, like, you know, the case of what your dad said is funny because he's like, I don't fucking remember that. But there are people who do that and do think about what they're saying in those moments, and that's the difference. Is like you can really like help somebody out, or you can, you know, like now you're senior, you know, in the fucking leadership team, you know, people
Yeah.
are going to be coming to you for crazy shit. They are going to have, you know, real issues, obviously, but then there's going to be those things that might seem insignificant, probably are, but whatever. And then you're going to be the guy who's got to be like, this is what you should do. And they're going to do it. And then, you know, that's a big step.
Yeah. And I'm gonna at some point in my career, I'm gonna have a major effect on somebody else's career.
Yeah.
And that shit is
Like-
terrifying.
Think of all the new airmen that you're going to talk to
Yeah.
when they get to a squadron, because they got to talk to all the fucking chiefs. That's just a rule. So, you know, it's wild.
Yeah.
Because at least one of those, at the very least, like at the very minimum, if you don't talk to anybody for the rest of your entire enlistment, but you only talk to new people coming in, like you
Yeah.
would impact them at some point. Because those people, like the brand new ones, you know, you get in and you're like, I don't fucking know anything. Oh, these people I know are supposed to be the leaders. I need something because I have no idea what's going on. Like, that shit. Like, we had a lot of chiefs when I was in Fallon, but we had two officers. We had our maintenance officer and the skipper.
Yeah.
Who was, the maintenance officer was also the XO, technically. Because it was a permanent detachment, so it was all fucked up. But I still remember the first, meetings I had with the skipper, which is, you know, kind of the, you know, illusion that I'm replicating in my made-up scenario with you and the new
Yeah.
people was
Yeah.
that's gonna be something that they might think about forever, which is wild to think about in general.
Yeah.
Because I don't think about those moments. I make jokes at people coming through my shopping line at work all the time, and not once has it ever occurred to me that they're gonna be cracking up at that joke later. Like I don't, but yours is on a whole different level,
Oh man. Well, I'm glad that we spent 44 minutes just waxing poetically about the Navy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm going back in. If I can push button 4.
Let's go, dude.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah.
Wait. Would I have to start back over?
I think you've been out long enough. You probably would start back lower.
Shit. Well, I know a friend who's in the Chiefs mess probably hooked some stuff
There
up,
we go.
so.
Yeah. Oh man.
Guilty by association.
Holy shit. All right. We'd like to thank our friends, the Dutch and Denver podcast, the No New Friends podcast, Kicking It with the Kellys, and the Remedy Room.
Yeah.
Please check out our link if you're still watching us. It's a linktree/WOKPOD WalkPod. Leave comments. We didn't read them today, but that's because, well, I was busy for a while. But we're back on regular schedule.
Yeah, if you just Google Linktree/WalkPod, don't put any periods or anything in tree at all. You can find it. It's the first fucking thing. So, first thing that pops up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it, man.
Yeah. Hey, you guys like history and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I have another podcast, the Remedial Scholar. It's a weekly thing you can check out. This week we got Napoleon. Big guy in a little hat. Or wait, little guy in a big hat. Yeah, check it out. Do all the things. Tell your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way better than this show.
Shut up. But we are back, baby. So that's it. Right?
Yeah.
I've had enough. Peace out, bitches.
Navy Chief, Navy Pride.
Oh shit.